Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest tonight with 261 career wins. I'm going to list the gamut. I was on your PDGA page today. 261 career events. I already messed up.
Oh, I was
86 career wins. You were going to let me go, weren't you?
Of course I was.
Number 2 in the Global Master Series, winner of the 2023 Xiangmei Open, PDGA number 3140. Mr. Scott Stokely, how are we doing tonight?
Ladies and
I am
gentlemen.
doing fantastic, and I love the way you said good evening because it's like 8 in the morning.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah,
Yes, fair enough.
Yeah, it's later here. I'm not used to that time zone change.
A lot more people are going to watch the show in the U.S. than in Bangkok, so I think good evening was probably correct.
Hey, 2% of our audience is from the Philippines,
Yes.
so we'll get
We're getting
3
some
people.
Philippines. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. I actually just sent a message to the woman who's the tournament director for the Philippines tournament this past weekend, wishing her luck. I was very, very close to going, but I ended up going back to Bangkok to get some surgeries done. But had I not done that, I was going to the Philippines.
You mentioned surgeries. Anything serious, or we all good?
Well, I mean, no, everything's good. You know, one of the wonderful things about living in a big, wide world is that there are places on Earth with healthcare that are, especially like in the big cities, every bit as good as anywhere in the West. You know, the same doctor, same equipment, same protocol, same sanitation. Like they're just modern hospitals, except the cost is like 25 to 30% of what it costs in the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm basically getting about $80,000 worth of work done for 20. I was telling people 16 by mistake. It's 26,000, but it's 26,000 instead of 80,000. So if, like, for
Heck of
instance,
a difference.
These teeth right here that make me look old. Well, when I come on next year, I'll have a full set of teeth up here. But I had to get a bone graft for my sinus cavity, which is like $30,000 in the U.S. and it's like 10,000 here.
Oh. Yeah, you're spending basically what it costs for an ambulance here to get all that work done.
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
So anyway, I think the experience has been fantastic. I could not recommend it any stronger if you're looking to get, especially like elective surgery, cosmetic, dental stuff like that. Like, go to Southeast Asia. You won't regret it.
I will take that advice if I ever need that.
High recommendation from Scott Stokely.
So you said you're currently in Thailand. While we were talking, you said you've been in 8 different countries in the past 3 months. Which
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, which is insane. That think about that much traveling. For me, at least, I'm not a big traveler, and I wish I was, but like, you know how it is. Tell me what that's been like.
Well, so for those of the people that don't follow me, like I'm a full-time nomad. My girlfriend and I both, like every single thing we own is in our hotel room right now, and that's no exaggeration. We don't have a box of photos at our parents' house. We don't have a storage unit. We don't own anything that we can't fit into 2 backpacks, literally. Now, when I'm competing in bigger tournaments, I'll have merchandise. I'll have my golf discs. I got my tournament clothing, right? So that's a business. Those are business things. But actual, like, my life consists of 6 shirts, 3 pairs of shorts, a laptop. So our life is just built around traveling. And everything I do working is remote. It's all from the phone. It's all on the computer. So that's just how we live. And by the way, it's not a vacation. I mean, we're never going to stop doing this. This is just our life. So it's not for everybody, but it's exactly how we like to do it. Like, we're leaving in 2 weeks to go to Japan, and then we're stopping in China on the way to Copenhagen, which is the beginning of the Euro Tour and the European Pro Tour, which I'll be competing in through December. And then our plans are to do India and Africa next winter. So, yeah, this is just
awesome. That's so awesome. What would you say is kind of the biggest difference that you've noticed between competitive play here in the States and overseas?
Well, it depends. Overseas is a broad term. You go to Scandinavia, you're talking about a level of golf that is on par with the U.S., with the exception of, like, there's probably like a half dozen players that are maybe like that one little tiny tier above. But as far as at a tournament, you're filled with a bunch of 1,000+ rated players that are good, and a bunch of 14-year-old kids that throw 500 feet that are about to. That's Scandinavia, and then the rest of Europe is maybe kind of like a little tier below that. Not for any reason other than there's 10 times as many players in Finland as there is in, well, let's say Austria. So you're going to get 10 times good players. That's the only reason. It's just numbers. Basically, the way it works, this is something that I figured out. It's really fun for me. It's like I say I'm time traveling, because I started playing in 1976 when there was one course. So I've seen the complete evolution of the game. And basically everywhere I go is some place back in time the way it was at some point in my life.
Right.
Like, for instance, I'm in Southeast Asia right now, and this is like disc golf in the 80s. Like, there's one course in this town. Nobody knows about the disc golf except for the people that play it and maybe the neighbors. But, you don't even bother telling the waitress why you're in town, because then you'll have to explain what frisbee golf is, and they'll say, "Oh, so and so plays real golf," and you have to like cringe. So it's, but it's like going back in time. That's the way it was for us in the 80s. And then when I was in Australia and New Zealand, that's kind of like disc golf in the 90s, where it's definitely catching on. You'll go to a town where there's 3-4 courses in that town, and you run into people that have heard of it, but not everybody. You have sponsors, but they're local sandwich shops, right? So it's the experience. Honestly, it's just like going back in time. It's no different. In fact, I've even called this my disc golf midlife crisis. Like, my midlife, 53 years old, isn't to want to go back and live life like I was 20. I want to go back to play disc golf like when I was 20, and that's kind of what I'm doing.
So awesome.
It's really
so awesome.
Well, there's this energy. Like, there's this energy and this camaraderie that comes when the sport is small, when nobody knows what you do, when half the people at the tournament had to lie to their spouses about what they were doing this weekend because it's not okay. You definitely lied to your boss. Nobody was giving you time off of work to play a disc golf tournament because they didn't even believe that there was such a thing. So there's this kind of like this camaraderie that comes from this shared being an outcast thing.
Right.
It's kind of like, there's nothing less unique than all the goth kids dressing alike. But the reason they all dressed alike is they wanted a community. They were outcasts who wanted a community and found a community, and then it became this beautiful thing. And it's kind of like the way it is. Like, everybody that plays in these towns have this really beautiful thing going that no one else around them knows. That's the way it was for us in the 80s. It's really, it's exciting. I'm also going to go back on the tour because it's also exciting to play in front of galleries with media. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying it's different. It's cool.
Hit those shots like the skins match,
I don't even remember that. Can you refresh my memory? No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, it's the greatest forehand shot I've ever seen. He's got to be kidding.
I appreciate that. By the way, it's a documentary about to be released, and I'm breaking the story with you. It's a documentary. It's exclusive. I posted the trailer, so the trailer's out.
Oh.
But it's
semi-exclusive.
It's going to be mainstream though. It's not like on my channel. It's going to be on a mainstream channel. It's really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
And the documentary is centered around me, and especially the 12 months leading up to that moment. It's pretty cool.
Heck yeah. While you were in the States, I know that you were trying to traveling around doing clinics and classes. I even tried to sign up for one while you were in Michigan. They were all full. Are you still doing that while you're traveling overseas?
So yeah, yes and no. I've modified everything. The ones the reason it was full was I set my entire 2022 schedule in October of 2021, and within 24 hours, I basically sold out the entire year. I was really mind blown by it. So that's why it was full. Those are the full day seminars you were trying to sign up for. It's 6 people. It's like a 10-hour seminar, very intensive. I'm not doing those, but I have multiple people in the U.S. who are doing those. So if you go to scottstokely.net, I have seminars out there touring players or ex-touring players or off and on touring players, but high-level players who are teaching my method of teaching at these full-day seminars. So those seminars are still happening. I'm just not teaching them. I am doing two things. I'm still teaching. That's how I don't have a trust fund.
Right, yeah.
I'm not paying my bills with prize money. I am doing clinics. Like I will be doing the clinics all over Europe, and that's basically, it's like $20 or $30, but as many people that want to show up can show up. It's 2 hours long. Those will be happening all over Europe, taught by me. But the big thing I'm doing is I have a 6-month online class called Become a Complete Disc Golfer, and it's the pinnacle of my teaching because I basically have, it's a 6-month class. There's 2 live classes every month. There's a Discord channel where if you're in the class, you're constantly for 6 months being given things to do, and then you're posting form reviews. And I have 4 trainers working for me and myself who are doing form reviews like on the channel. So it's not just like watching videos and then getting a list of, throw 25 of this shot. It's like, it's right. An interactive class for 6 months. It's backhand, sidearm, and putting, and utility shots are the physical part of the game. But we also cover building a bag, playing in the wind, playing in the rain, mental games, strategy, course preparation, tournament play, like how to sign up for leagues. I mean, it's just a complete everything. Like if something isn't included and someone brings it up, it becomes included in the class. That's at
cool.
ScottStokely.net, and it is the thing I'm most proud of in my teaching. I mean, it's my life's work I've put into this. It's very good, and everybody that plays it, that signs up, is like the general consensus. And by general, I mean virtually everybody is. I was kind of skeptical if an online class would work. Holy crap! I'm now throwing way farther than before. I'm hitting my lines, and I feel snap. And I just won my first, tournament. I mean, that's pretty much
awesome.
Yeah. So sorry, I don't mean to I don't want to overly sell it or bore you.
Oh no, sell away.
Yes, sell your wares, sir.
That is where I'm. That's how I'm paying.
You're selling me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
yes, good.
What I'm hearing is that there's going to be a bunch of European kids bombing 450-foot forehands by the end of the year. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, pretty much.
They already do.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Europe it's so good. I mean, basically, disc golf is almost a national sport of Finland.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, though.
You do the math. I'm a math nerd. I'm a nerd, but I'm also a nerd. If you had the amount of courses in Denver as they have in Finland per capita, you would have nearly 1,000 courses in Denver.
Just in Denver. Wow,
Denver,
that's insane.
That's the ratio of disc golf courses to players, or in the ballpark, which is insane. I mean, you're talking about every 1,000, 2,000 people have their own course in Finland. It's unbelievable. And Estonia is not far behind. By the way, Iceland has more courses per capita than Finland. They have a smaller population, but Iceland has more courses per capita than Finland even. And of course, Sweden and Norway is right there. And it's like, yeah, it's I can't wait to go compete over there.
Yeah, we see it with players like Kristen Tatar winning basically like a national award, like a sportsmanship award in Estonia, right? She's Estonian.
Yeah.
Am I getting that wrong? Yeah, in Estonia, and you'll never. I mean, I'm not going to say never, but you don't see that right now in America. Like even someone like Paul Macbeth is not getting as much national recognition as they do overseas or in Europe, let's say.
Yeah, but more every day, and it's it's heading that direction. Not only that, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on her name. She just won a national award in Laos. Owen Scoggins.
Really? Yeah.
Won a national sports award in Laos, where she's from, and she went back there to be recognized by the government. So it's happening.
Yeah, to say in another 5 years or so that the winner of USDGC isn't going to meet the president.
Yeah. Hey,
I mean,
Ollie, I don't want to brag or anything, but I'm going to go ahead and brag. So just last season, I went to a Waffle House and I walked in the front door. They gave me the best table.
Nice.
Hey, best table at the Waffle House. You know, the few places I have traveled are south, and I'm telling you, nothing beats the best table at a Waffle House.
Is it the one closest to the door, so when the fight breaks out, you can get out?
Oh my God, no! It was back next to the I'm about to say something horrible. I'm not going to say.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
I was. No, I don't want to leave Waffle House as a sponsor. No, no, a lot of weird stuff. I mean, the stuff that's been happening to me, like I've, on this travels, like how many times have I been recognized in the airport? Half dozen? Probably like a half dozen times in the airport. People like run up to me to get my autograph. Like, and I'm not Paul. You know, I got a pretty good presence, but I'm not Paul or Ricky or Simon. That happens. We went, Adrienne and I keep pointing over here. She's on the other end of the camera. We were last year. We were in the middle of nowhere. This was so funny. So this is my level of fame, like summed up, like in 10 seconds. We were in the middle of nowhere, so we weren't in the town where the tournament's happening. We stopped at a steakhouse, and I'm doing well enough to go to steakhouses now, but I'm not doing well enough to eat filet mignon. I'm kind of like I'm right on that line, and we get there, and so we both order like the sirloin or something like that. Whatever it was, we ordered like the medium cost steak, and we sit down to order. And then when they come to bring it, this guy sets down the most gigantic piece of meat. He goes, by the way, we upgraded you to the 20-ounce ribeye, Mr. Stokely, and there's no charge for your meal, of course.
Oh man,
that's excellent.
And I was like, holy cow! And then they put the original sirloin in front of Adriana. So basically, so here's my level of fame. I sometimes get upgraded to the ribeye, but it doesn't cover the whole table.
Hey man, any little comp is good comp in my opinion.
Yes, that's fair.
Yes,
fair.
Yeah, it was fine. Perfect. I loved every second. Everybody asked me if I shared with her. It's like, no.
Absolutely.
No. Go set a world record, and then you get your own damn thing.
I share with you a couple world titles.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, yep. There's idled in this relationship.
Actually, when you said your world's longest fall records, I climbed that mountain with you.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God! Don't even start. Yeah, you want to hear a funny story? Yeah, she's here. This is the funniest thing we ever heard. By the way, you want to hear me just make a third of your audience just hate me?
Yeah, sure. They already hate us anyway.
Do they? I'll say it. So Alex Honnold has become my hero. He's the guy that did Free Solo. I can't get enough documentaries about. He climbed El Cap with no
ropes, just a chalk bag.
Just a chalk bag and his shoes, and he climbed El Cap. And I think it's the greatest human achievement of all time. Right? It's amazing. And they did a documentary called Free Solo, which won an Academy Award for like best documentary. It's unbelievable. So at the Academy, I shouldn't say any of this. Is it too late to back?
Nope.
So I was
you already stepped in it.
Full send.
So at the Academy Awards, he's up there. His girlfriend's in the documentary also, and in the documentary, like she wants him to like quit climbing so he could have a family and all this like horrible stuff. He doesn't even tell her he's climbing it, presumably because it would be a distraction because she's going to tell him how worried she is and she's going to screw with his head, right? So he sends her off, and then she gets a phone call from the camera crew that says, hey, Alex is climbing, right? Because he doesn't even tell her he's going to climb. So anyways, he climbs El Cap. A few months later, a year later, whatever, he wins the Academy Award, and they go up on stage and they're giving all their thanks, and then the director thanks Alex's girlfriend, and she says, "You climbed a mountain too that day." And I'm literally screaming at the TV, "No, she didn't. She did the exact same thing that day that I did. We didn't climb a mountain."
Yeah.
We did not climb the mountain.
We did not climb. Like, what are you talking about? You to climb the mountain that day? No, one person climbed El Cap that day, and
Did not risk thousands of feet of death.
Yes, and so that's kind of been our joke, like. She goes, I deserve a steak. I climbed a mountain. Every time you set a world record, I also set a world record that day. That's what we always joked about. Anyways,
that's
sorry.
Excellent.
So I before we got off on that, I had
sorry.
a weird. No, you're good. We get off on tangents all the time. We were talking about how big it was over in like Finland and Estonia and all that. How come you think that the majority of the coverage? I know that the DGN is now going to be covering Euro Tour and Euro Pro Tour events over in Europe. But how come you think that most of the scene, as it could be called, is centered around the United States if it's perhaps bigger over in Europe than it is here?
It's easy. It's centered around the United States because, well, first off, that's where the media companies are located. That's where the money that created the DGPT came from. So it's where it started, but it's also where the highest level of play is. That's just where it happens to be. If the highest level of play, like if some billionaire in Australia said, I'm going to put together $100 million disc golf tour in Australia, and all the best players went to Australia, that would be the center of the disc golf universe on television. It's the same reason why, like, I hate to say this because I'm one of the old guys too, because I don't want, the theme of this whole podcast has been making people hate me, by the way. I don't want my older friends to hate me, but people say, what about a senior tour, which there kind of is now, and why can't the older players get more shine and get more media coverage? And it's like, yeah, that would be awesome. Nobody wants to watch it. Like when you watch basketball, you want to watch the NBA, or if you like women's basketball, you want to watch the WNBA. You want to watch the highest level of basketball, and then even college basketball, there's tribalism related to that. And there's regional, like there's other things that work there, but you're not watching the senior NBA tour, and we're not watching the European NBA tour. They watch the NBA because it's the highest level of play. So that's all it is. Right now, that's where the top players are playing, is here. If that changes, the people are going to watch the top players. Like if Paul, Ricky, Simon, Eagle, and Calvin and Gannon like all started playing the Prodigy Tour over in Finland, that would get the highest ratings. I guarantee it.
Right. So I think I might be on the majority where if there was, I watch everything. Like I can't get enough. If there was coverage of the Masters Tour, which I know that they're doing. I don't know what the full schedule is of the Masters Tour now. I think it's a lot of the Elite Series events have, the Masters events thrown in, but they don't cover them. But when you have people that you grew up watching, like, Kale LaVisca is now joining a bunch of those Masters events. You have like Barry Schultz and all these guys that you don't see on regular coverage anymore, but you've seen them in the past. There's something nostalgic and cool about watching how it used to be.
Yeah, and the great thing is, it's the internet's a perfect democracy. Like my opinion of whether or not people want to watch a Masters tournament, like, has zero bearing on whether or not people watch that tournament. Like my opinion doesn't matter. What matters is the numbers. If you get
absolutely
400,000 people watch this over here, and then 3,000 people watch that over here, that's people voting. Like YouTube, everybody gets to vote. Believe me, my God, the greatest thing in the entire world to me would be if there was a MP50 Masters series that with a ton of prize money. Well, I give away my prize money, but hypothetically, to have a tour where I could go hang out with my old friends, like I would love that. I would love that more than anything. But I'm also not a hypocrite. Like when I watch basketball, I don't watch the NBA Senior Tour. By the way, if you told me there was one, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, oh. I won't watch it. I want to watch LeBron James.
Just as a counterpoint, so with a sport like football, basketball, that is kind of more impact on the body than I'd say disc golf is. Like people can play disc golf at a high level. Look at yourself. You can play at a high level for much longer. So like even in your 40s and 50s, you could still be playing in a high level. We just don't necessarily think of them as top players anymore. But like, I love when you go to like watch GMC and Steve Brinster's tearing it up out there. Like, that's one of my favorite things. It's like, yes, that's the guy. Like, he's there. And I know that I might be in the minority, but I think if there was a product that it would probably get the views because of how many, it's not like, I know Europe, like the demographic for disc golf is much younger, but in the United States, it's, late 20s, 30s, like that's the main demographic of disc golf in the United States, I feel like right now. And if they covered it or like watched it for any length of time, they still want to see their heroes that they saw growing up. We just don't get to see them anymore.
Well, and that's going to happen right now because Europe is going to get a ton of press this year. And that will happen in Europe. I say most of the eyes are going to be on the Pro Tour. I'm only speaking about numbers. I mean,
I know.
There's going to be more people watching the Des Moines Challenge than the tournament in Croatia. But you know who will be watching the tournament in Croatia? The people in Croatia.
Right.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's going to be massive for there. Every country's going through its own journey, and you are looking at a national championships, a national level event at your like in your country. And so Europe is going to get a ton of shine. And you're going to see a lot of players coming out of Europe who are going to get a lot of press in Europe. How much press they get in the U.S. is, I don't know. We'll have. Yeah. And by that, I hope I don't want to come across negative or anything.
No,
like
you're
that.
absolutely
no, not at all.
Everybody to make money and be successful, and and by the way, my gauge on the sport's success is about 1% on how much money a touring player makes. That's this close to irrelevant to me on the grand scheme of things, on how well disc golf is doing and how well it's doing globally. But it is worth 60% of the people following are most interested in.
Right. I mean, to be fair, like touring professionals don't really make their money from tournaments. It's all their sponsorships and endorsements. The tournament money just helps. So, I mean,
you don't need tournament money. There's right now, there's such a platform to ply your trade that if you're a touring disc golfer, if you're a touring disc golfer and when you're done touring, you go back to hanging drywall or middle management or nursing or whatever it is you do, that was your choice to leave disc golf. Like you have a world now where you could turn your touring disc golf career into a disc golf career. Mm-hmm. And to not do that is a choice. And anybody that's a high level disc golfer that isn't wildly financially successful, it's a choice. Like if someone goes out there and wins a Pro Tour event here and there, they're 1035 rated and they're making $70,000 a year, that's their choice. They could be making $500,000 a year if they wanted to, easily. But
yeah, absolutely.
You just have to. I think the biggest challenge. By the way, this goes not just for disc golf; it's a lot of sports. You have to recognize that a generation ago, your job was to play the sport, but in 2023, there are different components to your job. Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't want to pick on disc golf, so we'll take a sport like mixed martial arts. You have people, you'll hear this all the time from mixed martial arts, someone in the UFC that says, I'm a fighter. Instagram isn't part of my job. And I'm just like, bullshit. Yes, it is. Instagram, every bit as much a part of your job as learning how to do low kicks.
Right.
You want it to be that way, and it might not have been that way a generation ago, but it is today. It is part of your job and your career. And if you're just simply fighting and then hoping sponsors come knocking on your door, you're probably going to be broke at 35. But if you are building a social media following, you're building an audience and teaching seminars and opening up gyms and creating clothing lines and endorsing in sports drinks, you're going to be successful in your 60s. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, we have this massive media platform. The Disc Golf Pro Tour, they don't need, if they didn't pay $1 in prize money, if this was like the Olympics and the players weren't making any money, has very little impact on what a player should be earning.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
but I'm on my soapbox here, but that's just the reality. It's 2023. Social media and branding and all those things are part of your job. Has to be.
Yes. So tying into that a little bit, slightly switching gears, but also tying into that. Hot topic in disc golf, obviously, right now is the Gannon Burr Prodigy dispute, the thing that's kind of hit disc golf in droves, kind of over the last week and a half or so. Don't necessarily want to know any personal preference on that, but I do want to know, how do you feel that this situation particularly is going to change the infrastructure for professionals moving forward in the sport?
So I will tell you my opinion on this, because I think
Please.
I think what my opinion on who's right and wrong is valid, because what my opinion is that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
But that is a valid opinion.
Absolutely.
I think one of the tough things, this is a old man dealing with the world of social media rant, but everyone's got an opinion and no one knows what the hell they're talking about. And the thing is that I know the Prodigy people, and I know Gannon, and I know Gannon's mom, and I like all of them, and they're all my friends. And the thing I wish they could understand before they start taking sides is that it is possible for both sides to be right. Okay, there's a reason why when you have a contract dispute and you sue somebody, that doesn't mean you're attacking them, nor does it mean the person you're suing did something unethical. It means we disagree on what the contract says, because it's written with words and we're human and there's interpretation and words have meanings. It's like that differ from one person to the next, and intent differs. So you can have a situation where you disagree, and then you let a court settle it, because the contract is written in legal language to be interpreted by a court. And it's possible the court can't settle it, and you have to find a third party that says, well, I'm going to be objective. Do you both agree I can be objective and I'll settle it for you? And both people could be ethically right, because they both interpret something differently that's in conflict. And I wish people could view it that way, that this is very, very overblown. This is just the world of business. It's the world of sports. It's the world. I mean, nothing's happening here that's unusual or as big of a deal as they seem. There's people disagree. You left the contract. I think that it said this. You're supposed to do that. Well, you didn't do this thing you said you were going to do. Yeah, but I did it to the best of what I thought I was supposed to do. And so anyways, I'm a dummy. I don't understand anything, but I do know that it's possible that nobody did anything wrong, and that they just disagreed.
Absolutely.
And it's settled. And by the way, whatever the court says is going to be the right answer, because if one person didn't meet what they agreed to do in the contract and they suffer a consequence because of it on either side, well, then you should have fulfilled your obligations.
Yep.
Doesn't mean
Absolutely.
you're unethical. You're going to be forced to fulfill those obligations, and then when that happens, well, you agreed to it. So
absolutely.
I really have a strong feeling about that, because it's, as our sport becomes more mainstream, it's juicy gossip. But this isn't weird. This is every NBA player and every NBA team, every single season of the NBA season. It's just new to us.
Yeah, that's kind of my slight point is, do you feel like, because this particular issue, because it is normal, it happens all the time. I think a good majority of the United States population has probably dealt with some form of legal issue, from a fix-it ticket to, needing to go sit on the jury board or whatever the case may be. Do you feel like, because it compares to those situations of basketball, NFL, those similar contract disputes, that it is going to kind of, again, move it further into that echelon of professional sports?
The more you introduce money into something, the more that's going to happen. Now, if you're a purist, especially if you're older from the old days, and you're like, well, I think money's hurting the sport because this didn't used to be an issue, that's a very valid opinion. But my response to their valid opinion would be, you need to get over it, because it's happening. and that's just the world that we live in. And the more money, like as soon as you start using the word millions, you're gonna start, things are gonna happen, and
Eyebrows
that's
start getting raised for sure.
human nature. And I mean, Prodigy has invested a bunch of money into Gannon Burr as well as other players, and they've gotten behind him, and they have a media machine that's helped promote the brand of this person. Prodigy has a stake in this. Gannon is looking at his future and his livelihood and his putting his kids through college, and he's dedicated his life to this sport, and he's looking out for himself. And if that is not always devoid of conflict, but it's not a big deal. It's only a big deal, in my opinion, if people start pointing fingers of like, well, you tried to do something, you tried to wrong me, and like I if you try to smear someone's character, I think that that's shitty. Like that's not a public discussion. That's something you say to someone's face. Like you don't harm their ability. And I haven't, from what I've seen, I haven't really seen any of that. And like it's not a big deal. It's a lawsuit. And you tell anyone in business what a lawsuit is, they're like, oh, that thing that happens all the time. Ed Hedrick, who is the first, Ed Hedrick is the first name on the Mount Rushmore of disc golf in 100% of people's opinions, right? He's the godfather.
Absolutely, yeah.
Every single way. This is the running joke. With like I said, I told Adriana about this. You know what I'm going to say, right? About Ed Hedrick. I said, this is great. I go, watch. Every time we meet someone that knows Ed Hedrick, I'm going to say the same thing to them. So when I bump into someone, an old friend, and they're like, oh, yeah, I knew Ed, I always say to them, what year did he sue you? And am I right? And their response is 1982, 1977, 1988. Okay? Ed sued every person under the sun. He or, at the very least, sent out cease and desist letter with threat of lawsuit. That happened. That happened behind the scenes, and our sport grew from that individual. Like, this is just, and by the way, none of us hate Ed because of it. Like, all of us are like, Ed was complicated, but we still put him on our Mount Rushmore. He was just doing business, and the way he did business was, I have a patent on this thing. You're doing this thing that is taking advantage of this brand that I built, a building called disc golf that I put all this money and time into, and now you're putting out baskets that I'm not getting paid on, that you're in theory going to make money selling discs at, but
right.
I have a patent on these things. Like, you need to stop, and if you don't stop, I'll take legal action. I have the right to do so. I don't think Ed did anything wrong. At the same time, it's like, Jesus Christ, Ed, everybody, you've got to. So it's not weird. I love Gannon. I love the people at Prodigy. Like, none of that's going to change. I think they're all good people. I really do. And Gannon, I know Gannon's mom was included in this. I've spoken with her a bunch of times. She's wonderful. When my movie comes out from my Grown Up Disc Golf book, as of right now, I got Gannon cast in the starring role. If it doesn't he's going to age out of it, I'll have to replace him. But as of right now, if the movie's made tomorrow, Gannon Burr is playing me in my movie. And I've known Mike Salt since 1985. So
he's tall enough.
He's the guy.
Tall enough for sure.
I don't know if he can act. We'll find out. If he can't, I'll fire him, and I'll fire him, and I'll sue him for being lousy at acting.
So I think we got a couple more questions on non-disc golf related. And do you have time to play a game with us tonight?
I have time. Are you kidding?
This morning?
I'm in Bangkok for 2 weeks, not traveling for probably the only 2 weeks for the rest of my life where I won't be like going to a new city every day. So I have all the time in the world.
Heck yeah. Excellent. Well, this actually ties into my question. So you're in Thailand.
Yes.
And you mentioned you were in Cambodia and, a bunch of other countries. So I'm a foodie, but there's a caveat. When you go to these exotic countries, you tend to see things that you wouldn't expect to, even be palatable. What's the weirdest thing you've either eaten or have seen on the menu in your travels?
All right. So I'll talk about the food here because the food is special. The reason why it's special is everywhere. We flew into Singapore. Singapore is basically like Manhattan to a large extent, but we left Singapore after a few days. It was awesome, but we went to Indonesia and Malaysia and Thailand, Cambodia, and the thing about out here that makes the food so good isn't the restaurants. I'm not saying the restaurants aren't good, but it's not the restaurants. What makes it special is that you can go into any neighborhood out in some village in the middle of Cambodia, and you will see people on the street cooking food for sale.
Heck yeah.
So and that's what they call it, street food. It's like, I didn't really know what that meant. Like, we ordered street tacos. That just meant they didn't put lettuce and tomatoes on them. I didn't know really what that meant in the U.S., what street tacos, the origin of it was. Out here, you walk down the street. Like, if you're in the city, if you're in Bangkok, if I walked out the door right now and I walked 100 meters, one block, I'm going to find 6 or 7 people cooking food on the street per block.
Wow.
And all amazing. And an entire meal cost about $1.10, something like that. No exaggeration. If you spend $1.50, it's probably because they're ripping you off because you're from America and they charge an extra. They charge you $1.50 instead of $1. They don't really do that. I'm kidding, but so the food is wild, but you don't know what you're ordering. So
Right.
as far as the thing I've eaten, I don't really know what that is because we walk up to places and you just point at something and then you eat what they bring you.
Heck yeah. I actually have a friend who's in Bangkok right now for his honeymoon. So
Yeah, Steve-O.
yeah, if you see someone who looks like an emaciated Bruce Willis walking around, say hi.
Hey, I did take a picture. I saw scorpions on a stick. These scorpions.
He actually, my friend literally posted on his Snapchat today of scorpions on a stick on the streets of Bangkok. Yeah.
Yeah. They sell scorpions on a stick. There'll be like a whole skewer with scorpions on them, and there are tons of like squids, tentacles.
Seafood is a big thing over there for sure.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it's river fish, which means it just kind of like you eat like a lot of the places don't have the distribution chains or distribution channels that you would have in other places. I mean, you might have some of that to some extent in Bangkok, but the minute you get outside of town, you eat what was grown on the farm that day or picked on the farm that day or what they pulled out of the river. Here, I'll give you an example. We're in Cambodia, and the course in Cambodia, a quick aside, the person that built the first course in Cambodia doesn't own the land. And I asked him, I said, well, how big's your property? He says, well, 0.6 of an acre. I'm like, well, you have this beautiful disc golf course out in these rice paddies and around these fields with water buffaloes and cows and villages and trees and lakes. And like, how do you, like, who owns the land the course is on? And he said, he goes, a bunch of neighbors. And I'm like, wait, you're putting up baskets on like your neighbor's property? And he says, yeah. He says, out here, like, you want people to use the land. I mean, if you own land and someone else can make use of it, why would you not want them to use it? So none of the neighbors have a problem with the course, T-pads and everything being on their property if it's on a piece of land that's not being used. So they make the rice paddies out of bounds because that's, that's farming area. But right next to the out of bounds rice paddy is a basket that the neighbors don't have a problem with, right? It's pretty wild. And I was going somewhere with this. You were asking about I'm old. About
ever ate.
What?
The weirdest thing that you ever ate.
Weirdest thing
I believe that was the original question.
Went off on a rant. That's what I get for drinking too much coffee at my age. So we're playing on the land, and Wow.
Every fifth house has
Dead
a
time.
restaurant.
No, every fifth house has a restaurant. I just completely lost my train of thought. I'm so bad.
Oh, it's all good.
But
Completely fine.
But anyways, that's the story. There's the courses out on the property. Wait, what was the question you asked me? And now it's going to kill. It's going to haunt me. You said it had nothing to do with disc golf. It was about food.
It was in your travels. Like, what's the weirdest thing you've eaten or seen on the menu?
The weirdest thing I've eaten, seen on the menu. How did that turn into talking about disc golf? You just entered into my brain. It somehow
Everything goes back into disc golf.
I was going to say, I think for everybody that loves the sport in some way, shape, or form, the conversation always comes back to disc golf.
I almost worked it into my vows.
Why didn't you?
I'll not even go there.
So the course was on his property. There's baskets everywhere. We're at talking about the food, and we're
Shared property.
Yeah, they share their rice paddies out here. They're the people grow rice on other people's property and don't even pay them for the using the land, because if you're not using the land, why would you want to stop someone from growing rice on it? Like, that's life or death for that family. So I can't remember where this was going. I'm so sorry.
Oh, completely
That's
fine.
all right.
Just getting the perspective. No follow-up questions on that. I have kind of our little side game. Do you have any follow-up questions before we get into that?
Real quick before we play the game, so have you been following like the Disc Golf Pro Tour at all this year?
Yes,
so
for
far.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't watch time to actually like watch much of it, but I watched what was happening. I saw the AB thing. I saw the I saw
Tough
the whole
beats.
Yeah, it's I have an opinion on it, but
right. Well, we got this thing going where we're doing we're making picks each week for the tournament. Top 3 FPO, top 3 MPO, and getting a certain number of points for each one we get right. And then at the end of the season, whoever has the least amount of points does some kind of punishment that we haven't quite decided.
Live at USDGC.
Yeah, it will be at USDGC. So we're thinking probably, following around, maybe Nico with a shirt that says "Hit Me," or like, I'm a big Paul McBeth fan. He's a big Ricky fan, so I'd make him follow Paul's with all Paul McBeth gear with a shirt that says Paul's #1 fan. Something in that and along those lines.
That
I
rings
would like
Duke, right?
Yeah, I would like if you were to make my picks this week, top 3 FPO and top 3 MPO for the Waco Annual Charity Open.
For the Waco, is everybody going to be there?
I believe
Yes.
Paige Pierce and Kristen Tatar are back. I'm not sure about Valerie Mondahano with her injury, so if you can exclude her from the top 3, and if she makes it, I'll take that L. But I'm pretty sure everyone is going to be there.
And Ricky currently is registered, but that's kind of a hit and miss, I think, just moving into the rest of the season with the wrist injury that he had going into All-Star Weekend.
Paul's there.
Yep.
Is Eagle playing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Eagle's a slam dunk. I'm going to go Eagle for the top 3 open players. How about Eagle? You said Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Can't ever bet against Paul. How about Eagle, Paul, and Joel Friedman?
That's your 1, 2, 3? So Eagle 1, Paul 2, Joel Freeman 3rd? Okay. What about FPO?
Great picks.
FPO, Tatar is going to be there, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, you can't bet against Tatar anywhere ever. Oh wow. How about Ella Hansen?
Okay. Great pick.
And we're gonna go Holland.
That's a
great pick.
Exactly who I was hoping you'd pick. So
Great
that's
pick.
perfect.
Great pick. So since he's picking yours, I'm gonna go ahead and pick mine.
Okay, yeah, do it up.
We'll go ahead and pick mine. So firmly believe, and I'm going to stick with my guy, Eagle. I had Eagle 1 last week.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't necessarily come through with it, but I think last week with the weather, it was definitely tough beats for everybody on the course. So I'm going to go Eagle 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go Anthony Barella 2.
Okay.
And I'm going to go Drew Gibson at 3.
All right. What about FPO?
FPO, I'm going Katrina Allen 1. Kristen Tatar 2. And I'm going to go Holland for 3.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to go Holland 3. I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
I will tell you right now, in all fairness to Katrina Allen, if you forced me, by the way, is Paige going to be there also?
Yeah, I think it's going to be her debut tournament of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, if you force me to, like, if my life was on the line, you still go Kristen, Paige, Katrina, in some order. But these picks aren't fun if you're just picking. You have to pick some people that are kind of like kind of circling it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I feel like I felt like that with my Drew Gibson pick.
That's why I say with
yeah.
I mean, that guy's so good. He could win any tournament he plays. And
he has the best fashion in disc golf, in my opinion.
I'll disagree, but sure.
The fact.
All right, so should we get into our game?
Yeah, we can get into the game. So Scott, we do this game. We call it OB or NA. OS or NA, excuse me. OS or NA. So I kind of researched the vast collection of plastic that this wonderful sport has been able to present to us. And I pull a couple discs for Luke or any guest that we have on to kind of guess. Is it overstable or not? Kind of. So I pull some random ones out there, and I know, and this is kind of a fun / tough game because there's new plastic that keeps rocking like every week. It seems like PDGA approved.
I know less about golf, the golf discs that other companies are doing than so many people out there. I just
Luke's right there with you. Luke's right there with you.
I know what I throw, but that's about it.
That's kind of why I came up with this fun game, is because I feel like I have a slightly above average knowledge of plastic, and it's just because I'm always looking and seeing what's coming out. And one part about the game for me is the technology advances over the last decade or so, that how the technology in the game has been able to advance the game so much when it comes to plastics and molds and things like that. But I'll digress. Luke's not too great at this game either. So I have 3 discs. We're going to make this slightly interesting with some stakes. So Luke, actually, I'm going to name these 3 discs. And for every time that Mr. Luke gets one wrong, he is going to eat one of our super hot Carolina Reaper Bean Boozled beans that we have here. So he's basically going to destroy his taste buds for the sake of disc golf.
And to caveat this, I don't do spicy food. I'm a savory, bland guy. I'm a boring food.
You said you're a foodie, though, right?
I am, but like spice, I've never agreed with.
So let's put. Can we put the game on pause for 1 second?
Absolutely.
I know where the conversation was going earlier when I was talking about Cambodia and all the out in the country. So the thing that we do when we travel, we are not tourist people. We're not beach people. We actually tried. We tried in Indonesia. We walked out to a beach. We sat in these like lawn chairs right on this beautiful beach for how long were we there?
5 minutes.
We were probably there 5 minutes, and I'm like, this kind of sucks, right? And she's like, yeah, let's get out of here. And we took a cab out to some village in the country. And but like when we were in Indonesia, we weren't in Bali, right? We stayed an hour and a half from the city out in the country. And every morning we got up and we would pick some random spot on the map on this island, tell the driver to take us to that spot. And then on the way to the spot, we'd see something and just say, let us off here. And they'd let us out in some like village in Indonesia. And we're just wandering around. There's no white people, no Westerners. Everybody's cooking food like everywhere out on the street. It's best food we've ever eaten in our lives. We got invited into a home to have dinner by this family. We're out on their patio to have dinner. We had a woman bake us a cake. Right? Remember? She was like, she spoke a little bit of English. She says, "You've never tried Indonesian layer cake? Give me an hour." And she bakes us a cake. So that's the best food we've ever eaten. We've never had better food than we've had traveling outside the
big cities.
Yeah, and out. But the food is spicy. It's really spicy.
Yeah.
I love spice. I'm a super big spice guy. I put about 3 teaspoons of pickled habanero juice in my chili, so I'm like a super big spice guy.
I spice to a point where when we're in Thailand, they ask you, do you want spicy or not? Because we're white and they know that we're visitors probably, and they'll say, do you want spicy or not? Because normal Thai food here, it's not like Thai food in the U.S. It's like it's a completely different menu. It's not the same thing at all. So the Thai food out here is they ask you, and we tell them, make it the way you make it at home, and they laugh, and then they make it, and we love it. It's spicy. We went to one restaurant in Indonesia, it was like we got this crab that they just pulled out of the water and it was too spicy. Like I literally
spicy.
I was on fire. But anyways, we found it just like at this pier in the middle of nowhere where people are like pulling crabs out of the water, and then people that work for the restaurant are pulling crabs out of the water, and then like they boil them for you. It's a trip.
Cooking them right then.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Luckily you don't have to worry about your mouth being on fire during this game. Only I do. So
only Luke does. Yes.
Okay. All right, let's get into it.
Awesome.
I don't have a theme song for this, so
no theme songs. No theme songs.
I'm gonna open this just so I'm. Like I said, I don't follow along, so I anticipate the very first question.
How we're going to do this is I'm going to name the disc and the manufacturer of the disc. I will take consensus of your answers from both of you, and I will let you know if you're both right, one of you is right, or if you're both wrong. And then we'll kind of do the reveal on whether or not it is OS or not.
All right, let's do it.
Awesome. So this one, possibly more on the easy side, because this particular disc had its own commercial at LVC over the weekend. A Nova Juggernaut. OS or not?
You can go first, Scott.
It's got no understable disc has ever been referred to as a juggernaut. It's got to be overstable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because I believe Dave Dunapace was like, but in these Las Vegas wins, you want to pull out the Juggernaut.
Ding, 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 ding. He did watch the commercial at LVC. Yes, the Juggernaut is Anova's new massively overstable distance driver. If you have not checked those out, please definitely go do so. They're super awesome.
I have a ding.
Ding. He does have a ding. All right. This next one, kind of a little out there, kind of in the theme of the whole Simon MVP signing, the whole shebang. So we got some gyro. All right. So Orbital. OS or not?
You know this one?
I do.
All right. Well, I'll go first then, because I'm not just going to take your answer. Nah.
Ding, 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 ding. We do have a correct answer. The Orbital from MVP is probably the most understable distance driver that they have available, in my opinion.
The Speed 13, I think, right? It's a
Speed 13, -3 or 4 on the turn. I'm a little off, can't be sure, but it's -3 or 4.
Sure, it's not 3.5 because they use the 0.5.
Could be 3.5. We never know. All right.
Well, hey, I'm doing good.
Doing great. Doing great. No spicy. Nobody has spicy right now. So this one's a little bit of an older disc. It is a discontinued disc that they do not make anymore.
Dunzo.
They don't make it. It's going to be a Latitude 64 Gladiator. OS or not?
Do you know this one, Scott? Should I go first?
I don't know it.
Okay. I'm going to guess overstable. A Gladiator? I mean, that just sounds like it's a beefcake of a disc.
I'm going to go understable, because if it was overstable, I think they would have kept selling it, because the early Latitude discs.
That's a good point.
Now, hey, I'm gonna sneak in just a total ruthless plug here. I have several of the first Latitude discs ever made, which are now discontinued, available at my store at scottstokely.net.
Heck yeah, I'm heading down there right after this.
Yeah. So you can go there. These are discontinued discs that we have in stock. I think we got 5 of them. the first 5 discs that are no longer in production. We have all 5 in my store.
Oh wow, awesome!
That's super awesome.
Well, Gladiator, yeah. I mean, I just that just sounds like a disc. If it had been overstable, why would they have discontinued it? Because they didn't have overstable discs at the beginning that were very good. I don't think.
And the reveal?
It's going to go to Luke.
Yes,
Luke. It was an overstable disc. It was a 12-4-0 3.5 distance driver from Latitude 64. Still available to view on their website, but no longer in production to purchase directly from their website. So that is going to go to Luke for that one.
Well, it looks like I'm not eating anything spicy
no
today.
Spicy stuff for Luke today, guys. That's super awesome. Appreciate you playing that awesome game, Scott.
I did about 5 years ago. I did the 1 chip challenge. Yeah, it was $40 for 1 potato chip. Although we were able to buy 10 of them for $150 for 10 potato chips, and then me and 9 of my coworkers all did the 1 chip challenge, and it was. I don't know if it was the worst experience of my life, but I mean, it was in the top 3. Like, I've been through a really, really bad divorce, and I think I would choose the really bad divorce over the 1 chip challenge. I'm not
too. We can commiserate together in that regard, Scott. Yeah. I have also done the 1 chip challenge, and I would put the 1 chip up there with I can't remember the name of the sauce.
Da Bomb.
The Da Bomb hot sauce from if you've ever caught Hot Ones, Scott. Right. It's like a chicken wing eating competition where they kind of are more of like an interview where they're eating super hot chicken wings that progressively get worse throughout the interview. And one of these hot sauces that they had on was notorious for being not only one of the hottest, but the most disgusting tasting hot sauce on the show. I would probably say Da Bomb might be my worst experience, because at least the 1 chip, while you're eating it, you get some version of enjoyable flavor before you get sucker punched in the mouth by hotness.
Oh, I didn't get anything enjoyable about it. Everything about the experience was just bad.
Everything.
I can tell you that Da Bomb. So me and my friends do a Hot Ones thing every year. It's the only the one time a year that I willingly eat spicy food, and they had Da Bomb, and it literally tastes and smells like battery acid. And then you're just in pain for about 20 minutes while you're leaking fluid from every hole in your face.
Yep. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
What the 1 chip challenge is. It's like, it's the only way. This is how I describe the 1 chip challenge, is that one of the guys that did it was Mexican. And that's relevant to the story. Don't get pissed off at me, millennial. It's relevant. That's a relevant part of this story. Okay. Because he grew up eating real spicy food, right?
Right.
He didn't grow up on macaroni and cheese. And he had like a 20-minute drive home. He did the 1 chip challenge. He waited about 30 minutes. He got in his car, could not make it the entire way home. About 10 minutes into his 20-minute drive home, pulled off the freeway, drove to a park, got out of his car, laid down in the grass for an hour and just sweated.
Oh.
And
that tells a lot.
That's the 1 chip challenge. Yeah, it was been fun. By the way, I was going to do it again. Gatekeeper Media was going to do a round with me where we played 5 holes, me against the Gatekeeper team, and then we all ate the chip and played the last 4 holes, but we ran out of time to do it. We were going to do it in Australia.
Oh, so damn.
I'm not opposed to doing it again if it depends on how many views I get. It's all about content.
Right.
All about content, absolutely.
Before
stupid if it's not on video. If it's on video, I'll do just about anything.
Oh, absolutely. Before we wrap this up, we would love to have you back on after you've gotten some of the Euro Tour events underneath your belt, just to talk about those a little bit.
I would love to come on as much or as frequently as you'll have me. Like, I love talking to my friends. I love talking about disc golf, I love talking about non-disc golf stuff just as much, especially if it turns into Cambodia. By the way, I'm going to tell you a Cambodian story.
Let's hear
Excellent. Send it.
This is a great Cambodian story. This is the highlight of the Cambodian event. So we're in the final round. It's really tight between me and Tommy from Finland, and I think I got him by like a stroke at this point. But just like 4 or 5 holes to go, and we step up to the tee pad, and it's a water buffalo in circle 1. Okay, real thing. Now this course is all over everybody's property, so there's tons of kids around. I mean, there's kids all over the course. I mean, it's their land. You can't really tell them to like not play on their land, right? But they also are very familiar with the how to handle animals, right? And this water buffalo was pissed off. So anytime anybody got near the basket, the water buffalo would kind of like charge him down a little bit, right? And the tournament director yells at the kids, "Hey, can you please move the water buffalo?" He says it in Cambodian, right? Which is Khmer is the language. So he says it in Khmer. He says, "Hey kids, go move that water buffalo." And everybody starts laughing. And he goes, "What's so funny? The kids need to move that water buffalo because that water buffalo is really mad. When you have a mad water buffalo, you need to move at the water buffalo." Well, he actually doesn't speak Khmer perfectly. And what he told the kids was, "Hey kids, go have sex with the water buffalo." And when he laughed, he says, "What are you talking about? That water buffalo's mad. Whenever you have a mad water buffalo, you need to go have sex with it."
That's hilarious.
What he said.
Shit.
And by the way, the story just came to me. One more story for y'all about Cambodia. This is the story about the eating unusual foods. That was the question this was about. So this has happened that didn't happen with me, but multiple people who were there had this experience. They're out there playing the course. The kids follow you around, and they'll jump in the water to get your disc out, and they make a few bucks, right? And they're just the kids are great. They're having a blast. But every once in a while, you'll see, you might see a snake. By the way, the snake might be a cobra, a king cobra. It might be a viper, a coral snake. I mean, there's things out there that'll just murder you.
Right.
Yeah.
So a couple different people had the experience where they were out there, they were playing, the disc went in the bushes, they saw a snake, and one of the kids there just yelled, "Snake! Snake!" at the top of his lungs, which is great, right? Because you got to warn all the white people about the snake, right? So the kid yells, "Snake!" and all the white people back off, thanking the kid for warning them about the snake. Well, it turns out the kid wasn't warning the white people about the snake, because what the kid will do is he'll yell "snake" really loud until finally one of his uncles at his house hears the kid, and the uncle comes running out the front door with a machete in his hand. Because what the kid was yelling was, "We're having snake for dinner tonight."
Oh, damn.
Yes. So the uncle will come out if they still see the snake. That's a delicate. They'll come out, they'll kill the snake, they'll take it back, and that's what the family's going to eat that night. That's the people who own the land that the disc golf course is on. Is that amazing?
That's insane.
That's a culture shock for sure.
Oh, it's incredible. We ate chicken one day that was there's so they call it free range chicken, but in the U.S. free range chicken just means it's not in a pen. It means the farmer lets them run around their property. Free range chicken.
I have about 4 of those.
Yeah, free range chicken in Cambodia is a chicken that nobody owns that walked across your parking lot of your restaurant that morning. So we ate a chicken that 2 hours before made the mistake of walking across the restaurant parking lot, and they're like, "Hey, we now have a chicken on the menu."
It's just minding his own business. And
We have a chicken. I like that. I like the way that was phrased. We have a chicken on the menu now.
Yeah, there was well, it's like the fish. If they catch 4 fish, they got 4 of the fish meal, then it's gone. That's just the way it works. By the way, and then I ate chicken feet, which
really?
I've had chicken feet.
Yeah, you don't eat the bones. You actually do is you nibble the skin off the chicken, because the skin's like in this honey glaze. It was actually really good. except that you're holding up a little foot, which is, you got to get past that.
Yeah, it's like a mental hurdle that you kind of get through. Like, nah, because my hardest part with chicken feet was continuing to envision the chicken still on the foot.
Did you? I kept thinking about the chicken trying to play hacky sack with no feet.
I vaguely thought about the movie. Oh man, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's the claymation movie.
Oh, Chicken Run.
Chicken Run. That's what I vaguely thought about when I ate chicken feet, was the chicken pies that they would make in Chicken Run.
Yeah, it's but that's the culture. Like like if you come out to Southeast Asia, like if you go to a McDonald's out here, like shame on you. That's so stupid.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's, and hey, in Americans and Westerners' defense, you don't see a lot of white people there. What you'll see is the locals eating out of McDonald's, because it's ethnic food. Because it is.
Right.
It's an American restaurant, so they're eating. It's like us going to a Chinese restaurant, so in the U.S., so it's no different. But yeah, it's like the food here is, you got to come out here though. But the spices, you'll have a hard time. It's spicy.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap this up, is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you want to send any plugs?
Yeah. So my 6-month online Become a Complete Disc Golfer class is always taking signups. The very next class is my sidearm class. Well, actually, there's 2 classes on throwing sidearm. That's going to be in 2 weeks. And if you miss that class, it's going to be 6 months before I'm doing another sidearm class.
Wow.
So if you want to learn how to throw sidearm from, let's say this, I'm 53 years old. I still throw easily over 500-foot sidearms with no injuries. I threw a 600-foot sidearm, flat ground, very little wind, just last year, shot with a laser, and I'm 53 years old. And
it's okay to brag.
Yeah,
no,
brag away.
Only bragging because I'm trying to sell something that makes like just get past something. That's cheesy. But if you're trying to do something, you better, like, if you don't brag, like, you're not doing your job.
Right.
But I think it's a testament to how my mechanics and the way I teach the sidearm is that I'm, to this day, if I go on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, like, I jokingly say I could count on one hand the amount of players on the Pro Tour that throw sidearms farther than me, because I can't name any. But I'm like, maybe Eagle does. I don't know. But I would love to test it.
I don't think he is these days.
No. Well,
He's throwing lefties.
Yeah, he'll be. Eagle's gonna come back. He'll be fine.
I know.
But it's like, but I don't. My arm doesn't hurt. I don't have injuries, and so I think that's a very interesting thing, that I'm playing with no injuries and still out throwing people because of the way I teach, the mechanics I teach. So that class is in just 2 weeks. So go to scottstokely.net. You can buy all my tour discs at the scottstokely.net. Click on the store to buy all my Tour Series discs, including the Universe discs. And there's a documentary coming out about me, and all sorts of other stuff.
Awesome. Well, this has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been truly a pleasure, Scott. Thank you so much.
I will come on as much. Like, this is so much fun for me. I love this. So, like, I would come on every week to talk about the Euro Tour. If you guys wanted to do a weekly show, like, I would. Like, I love this stuff. So,
we'll be in touch.
Yeah, like,
call that box checked.
Yeah, we can do. I mean, we could talk about the every week. Talk about the Pro Tour. I'm up for anything.
Scott's weekly Euro Tour update.
Yeah,
why not?
Definitely about that.
That is part of my job as a professional athlete, is podcasts and Instagram. It's just part of the job, but I also happen to really enjoy it. So keep me in the loop. I would love to pursue more projects with you guys. You guys do a great job.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Scott.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Thanks, Al.